Yes, good evening and thank you for the platform. May I commend the news band television for the important work they are doing. And I also thank Ankyo Briggs for her erudite presentation this evening. I also want to pay respects to other contributors to the program. My argument is simple and I frame it based on the strength of the little work I've done and the experiences I've gathered from that work. I've spent the last 7 to 8 years doing field grassroots politics. And as such, I have started from the perspective of the puritanical, the idealistic kind of politician, now to a person having participated in at least 3 elections, deeply in the process. I've now formed a different opinion of how elections and governance is in Nigeria. First, there is a broad line between governance and politics. I've found that those who know politics don't seem to understand governance, and also those who know governance don't seem to know politics. That is why, for instance, one of the names my dear brother Maazezuke has mentioned, who is the only Igbo man that has declared up to date, Professor Kingsley Mohalo, while he's eminently qualified for the role, seem not to have a grasp of the system. For instance, both of us come from the same town. His political party sponsored a candidate in the last election that just happened in November 6th. That election offered him the opportunity to come down and campaign for his candidates, whilst doing so interact with Anambra electorate so they get to know him. He didn't. He has specially based his campaign on social media. And I did write this evening that Nigerian intellectuals seem to want power, but they don't want to get in the mud and do the heavy lifting that is required for such power. It's just as if they want to get rich quick. You want to appear every election year, paste a few posters, conduct one or two media interviews, post one or two things on social media, and then become the president without seeing the hard work of mobilizing, of getting to know the voters. And afterwards, you would think that they will stay back to engage with the electorate to make them understand who they are. But they vote, they jet off, and they only to appear after 4 years, 6 months to the election to ask for votes. And then in the interim, they now begin to blame voters for having not voted them, seeing their level of academic prowess and other achievements they might have achieved in their lives. But I ask, how can voters who don't know you, don't know you, haven't heard anything about you, in many of the instances, cannot identify your party logo on the ballot, vote you? So that's one question I have for Nigerian intellectuals who intend to run, whether they be from Igbo extraction or not, because I want to see better improvement in the quality of candidates presented. But what I'm saying is that those of us who feel we have one or two things up here, who have written books, and I ask the person you're talking about that has written books, what demography, what percentage of Nigerian voters, the real people who come out on elections to vote, how many of them can read? And how many of them will feel motivated enough to go online to download a book of a presidential candidate to read it? And so that's that on that level. Then on the Igbo aspect of the question, while we have notable sons and daughters of Igbo extraction who are eminently qualified to lead Nigeria at this time, while the argument for zoning I support, because on the strength of equity, what I find is that we have not really treated this with all the seriousness it should demand from us. For instance, the single most dominant power broker in the South is seemed to me to be the coalition of Southern governors, I think the 16 of them, who have made emphatic statements on who should lead Nigeria in 2023. I'd have expected Igbos to set up a lobbying group, to lobby that particular group, to microzone that same position to the southeast. We should set up. You made mention of that. Then that's brilliant. I agree with that. And there should be an important lobby group that should lobby Southern Governors Forum and convince them to microzone that to the southeast. And then what I also see is that we have vast amount of wealth in the southeast, individual wealth. Individual wealth in the south is that you find many southeasterners who are more than capable in terms of resources, media resources, money, even if it's sharing of rice or but whatever it is. Because Nigerian elections, sadly, have a formula. We will grow and outgrow this madness. But as of today, There are things you must have to apply yourself to win in Nigeria, or to at least make a decent run at it. So we have people who can fund these things. Why they are reacting haltingly to the idea of 2023 is beyond my grasp. Apart from people running on social media, there is no grounded, serious-minded Igbo politician or a politician of Igbo extraction, including the high flyers you mentioned in APC. They have not told anybody that they are running. They have not set up structure. I will conclude with this. Shortly after that November 2020, I believe, Supreme Court judgment that pronounced Buhari the eventual winner of the 2019 elections. A former governorship aspirant in my home state of Anambra, who ran and came, I think, third or fourth in the 2017 PDP primaries, added me to a WhatsApp platform. What is the essence? That they are mobilizing for Atiku. And in protest and mobilizing for Atiku, Atiku just lost in the Supreme Court. And less than 2 months, they are creating channels of support groups where they are canvassing for his coming back in 2023. And I called him and said, I have to exit this WhatsApp group because I can't in good conscience. You know I campaigned for him all through, but I can't in good conscience at this stage start campaigning for him again, for him to take over from another Northerner. So I left, but I know that as of today, that group has made tremendous progress. And then in the early 2021, this year, I was added to another group, ATM, the Tambuwa movement. And I said, I left the first group in protest. Perhaps I should stay in this group and know what it is they are doing. I'm aware that they've done their national inauguration, picked coordinators from the 36 states of the Federation, shuttled them to Abuja and inaugurated them, and tasked them with the job of going to replicate that in their states. In Anambra today, they have done their local government inauguration, which means that they now have 21 coordinators, strong politicians, grassroots people across the 21 local governments of the state. I am also aware that in my own local government that they have done mobilization and have gotten people from the 10 wards in my local government. They have now asked these ward coordinators a mandate to raise 50 voters for this same movement. So people who want to run for office are doing grassroots job, mobilizing people, giving them, doing elections the way it is supposed to be done. We have one Igbo man on social media doing his own thing on social media, doesn't come down to engage with the voters, even people who are from the same town with him. I can guarantee you this, that if this same person you're talking about running for president comes down to run for the senatorial zone of our Senate, of our zone, that he will hardly have votes enough to take him to the Senate. Talk more of getting votes to run for president. So I advise our people to be serious-minded. Those who have what it takes to apply themselves to the system, fight and shout for it. And then you did say that people invited Buhari to come and run for office. It is true. But that invitation was extended to him because an opposition political party, desperate for power, needed someone who would give them the numbers. Buhari had done something in the north. I don't agree with him, but he has cultivated that following that gave them that invitation. No Southeasterner outside of Mazen Nabikano has that kind of following in the Southeast. No Southeastern leader can be called or invited to indeed come and take this position. That's why those of us who want to make it happen should work hard for it. I so submit. Thank you for this platform and thank you for the opportunity.